Let's be real for a second. Self-discipline sounds amazing until you actually try it. You make all these big plans, wake up at 5 a.m., write a novel, start a side hustle, and then by day two, you're back on your couch watching YouTube videos like this one. Guess what? You're not broken. You've just been sold a lie that discipline is the key to success. It's not. Here's the truth. Self-discipline is overrated because it demands you to fight against your natural tendencies. And if you're honest with yourself, how many times has forcing discipline ever worked for you long term? Sure, it might work for a day, maybe a week, but eventually you crash and burn. The guilt creeps in, and you're back at square one, scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m., convincing yourself you'll start tomorrow. Well, good news. You don't have to keep falling into this cycle. In fact, you can screw self discipline entirely and still win. And no, this is not some feel good nonsense about how you're perfect the way you are. It's about being strategic and working with your brain instead of against it. I used to think discipline was my golden ticket to success. I'd binge watching productivity gurus on YouTube, the ones who crushed 10-hour workdays, meditated at sunrise, and seemed to have an unlimited supply of green smoothies. I thought, if they can do it, so can I. So I went all in. I bought a planner, mapped out an elaborate morning routine, and set my alarm for 5 a.m. Day one, I crushed it. Day two, barely made it. By day three, the alarm went off and I yeeted at my phone across the room. By day four, I was Googling, can lazy people still succeed? Spoiler alert, yes, they freaking can. Turn out the problem wasn't me, it was the advice. It was trying to fit myself into mold that just didn't work for who I am. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned. Success isn't about copying someone else's formula. It's about finding what works for you. Tip one, stop relying on motivation. Let's start with the biggest scam of them all, motivation. You've probably heard this one before. You just need to get motivated. But motivation is like that flaky friend who promises to hang out and then ghosts you at the last second. Instead of waiting for motivation to show up, build systems that do not need it. Hey, Triton, set a timer for just 5 minutes. Most of the time, you'll find that once you start, it's easier to keep going. Struggle with routines? Tie your new habit to something you already do. For example, if you want to meditate, do it right after brushing your teeth. Motivation comes and goes, but systems stick around. Tip two, outsmart your brain. Your brain is not lazy, it's efficient. And efficiency can look alike like procrastination. Here's the thing, your brain is wired to conserve energy, which is why it'll always choose the easier path unless you make the harder one ridiculously convenient. Don't like the gym? Don't force it. Find something you actually enjoy. Maybe it's dancing in your living room or going for walks while listening to podcasts. Can't focus on a task? Use the Pomodoro technique. Work for 25 minutes, then reward yourself with a guilt free 5-minute break. When you work with your brain's shortcuts instead of trying to override them, productivity feels almost effortless. Tip three, shrink the overwhelm. Big goals are great, but they're also paralyzing. How many times have you told yourself, I am going to start a business or I'm going to run a marathon, only to feel completely overwhelmed and give up before you even start? The trick here is to aim ridiculously small. Want to start exercising? Don't commit to a 30-minute workout. Just put on your sneakers and step outside. Thinking about launching a blog? Don't try to write the perfect article. Start with one sentence. It sounds too simple to work, but it does. Small actions build momentum, and that momentum turns into results. So here's where we're at. Motivation is unreliable. Your brain loves shortcuts, and small steps lead to big wins. But here's the kicker, you don't need to change who you are to succeed. In fact, leaning into your quirks might just be the ultimate cheat code. Tip four, embrace your chaos. Let's talk about the quirks that make you you. Maybe you're the type who can't sit still during a meeting, or your workplace looks like a crime scene half the time. Here's the thing, those quirks aren't flaws, they're features. Success doesn't have to look like neat schedules and tidy desks. Some of the most successful people out there embrace their chaos instead of fighting it. If your brain won't let you focus for more than 20 minutes, use that to your advantage. Break your workday into sprints and allow yourself to take quick dopamine breaks in between. If you thrive in organized chaos, own it. Your messy desk might actually be your creative hub. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Think of Serena Williams. She's known for her intensity and her ability to channel her emotions into her performance. She doesn't fight it, she leans in. So instead of trying to fix your flaws, ask yourself, how can I use these quirks to win? Now let's dive a bit deeper into Serena Williams because she's a perfect example of working with what you've got. She doesn't waste time trying to play like other tennis players. She leaned into her strength, her power, precision, and unshakable focus. You do not need to out-discipline anyone. You just need to figure out what makes you unique and use it. Whether it's your creativity, your ability to multitask, or even your talent for procrastination, there is always a way to flip it into a superpower. Tip 5. Stop comparing yourself to robots. Raise your hand if you've ever fallen into the comparison trap. You see someone on Instagram who seems to have it all together. They're waking up early, working out, grinding on their business, and somehow also having time for their friends. And here you are, proud that you managed to eat breakfast before noon. Here's the reality. Most of those people are either A, not showing the full picture, or B, working with a totally different set of circumstances. Comparing yourself to them is like comparing apples to orangutans. It just doesn't make sense. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yesterday's version of you. Ask yourself, did I make progress today? Even if it's tiny, that's a win. And wins, no matter how small, compound over time. Tip 6. Build an environment that works for you. Your environment shapes your habits more than willpower ever will. Think about it. If your desk is cluttered with distractions, how can you possibly focus? If your fridge is full of junk food, how can you eat healthy? Instead of relying on self discipline to resist temptations, design your surroundings to make the right choice easier. Want to read more? Keep a book on your nightstand instead of your phone. Trying to eat better? Prep healthy snacks so they're the first thing you see when you open the fridge. Your environment is like a silent partner in your success. Make sure it's working for you, not against you. Let me give you a real world example of how environment beats willpower every time. I used to tell myself, tonight I want to be productive. But then I'd sit on the couch, open Netflix, and 4 episodes later, I'd be wondering how it got so late. The problem wasn't my lack of discipline, it was my environment. I'd set myself up to fail by making procrastination way too easy. So I made one simple change. I moved my laptop to a dedicated workspace and kept the remote out of arm's reach. That tiny tweak completely shifted my evenings. I wasn't magically more disciplined. I just made productivity the default choice. Tip 7. Give yourself permission to rest. Here is a radical idea. What if you didn't have to be on all the time? We live in a culture that glorifies hustle and make you feel guilty for taking breaks. But the truth is, rest isn't a reward. It's a requirement. Think about your phone. If you don't charge it, it dies. The same goes for you. Pushing yourself to the brink isn't noble, it's counterproductive. Instead of treating rest as something you earn, build it into your schedule. Whether it's a 10-minute walk, a weekend off social media, or even just zoning out for a while, give yourself permission to recharge. All right, here's the deal. Self-discipline? Yeah, screw that all. You've got the cheat code now. It's not about grinding harder. It's about working smarter. Embrace your quirks and setting yourself up for success in ways that actually make sense for you. And if you're tired of hearing people tell you to grind harder, you'll want to click the video popping up right now. It's going to change the way you look at success forever. Let's get hacking life. Catch you there.